Hello, everybody who is joining us. A very warm welcome for everybody tuning in to Lex Explore AI today. My name is Courtney Blackman, and I'm your host, and I'm the head of partnerships at Australian law firm Lander and Rogers. And in that role, I run our legal tech accelerator program called the Law Tech Hub, and I run our AI clinics with universities across Australia. And this podcast, Lex Explore AI, is a collaboration between the Center for Legal Innovation and Lander and Rogers. So I'm very excited to have Dominic Woolrich here with us today. His platform is fantastic, and I wish I'd had something like this when I went down an entrepreneurial path a few decades ago. So have a peek at the website if you're a startup or have a small business. You'll see what I mean. So who is Dominic Woolrich? So Dominic is the CEO of Lawpath, which is a leading global legal and compliance software platform. It's recognized as one of the top 10 legal startups in Australia and the top 50 globally. It has also been recognized as one of the AFR's top 50 fastest growing businesses in Australia and has been nominated for awards, including the AFR Boss Most Innovative Companies and a finalist in the Australian Financial Review's Best Places to Work. Dominic's also an adjunct professor and board member at the University of Technology Law School and a winner of the Australian Legal Innovation Index. And in 2024, he was listed in the 40 under 40 Future Legal Leaders in Asia and awarded the Australian Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So, yep, it's pretty brilliant to have him with us today. So as a reminder, we're all about deeply exploring the AI elements of legal tech platforms. And so we're going to look at Lawpath AI with Dominic today. And we do want to make this as interactive as possible. So I'm going to hand over to Dom in a second, and he's going to take us through the platform. Also, if you want to get involved at any time, you can either raise your hand and ask a question and come on verbally, or you can pop a note in the chat. So without further ado, Dom, over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Courtney. I always love a nice intro like that. It makes you feel very chuffed at what you've been able to achieve. So, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Really excited to be here with Landers and Rogers and the Center of Legal Innovation to show you our product, Lawpath AI. And so, as Courtney mentioned, I'm very, very keen to make this as practical as possible as we can. So in a moment, I'm going to share my screen and we'll get into the weeds of our software and how it all works and what we've been building. But what I thought I might do is just start with a bit of an overview of Lawpath, just to give a little bit of context as I start showing you through our platform. So Lawpath is an Australian legal and compliance technology business. We are coming up on almost 10 years old now, so I can't really call us a startup anymore, but we definitely try and think like a startup, because really what our mission is to start and assist 1 million businesses by 2030. And the way that we do that is we look at all of the legal and compliance tasks and processes and workflows that a small business in Australia might need to complete, and we look to automate those processes. And so typically, what might happen is you would go to, when you're first starting your business, you go to a lawyer, or you go to a company secretary, or you go to an accountant. But what we found is often in those really early days, clients just don't have the funds to do that, and so they'll stick their head in the sand and they won't set up some of these really key workflows and processes. And as we all know, as lawyers down the track, that usually leads to issues. So our business really is for those businesses right at the beginning, maybe before they have their own in-house counsel, they have their own private practice lawyer on retainer, and it allows them to self-serve a lot of these tasks. And so that proposition to small businesses in Australia has been really, really popular. We have 500,000 clients on the platform now. We are creating 7% of all businesses in Australia through our platform. We are drafting using our AI, which I want to show you today, between 700 and 1,000 documents a day through the platform. And so what we found is there's quite a lot of scale now. And that leads to really what we want to talk about today, which is how we've started to integrate and build AI into our platform. And more importantly, how we've been able to use a lot of the data and a lot of the resources that we already had in place to feed that into our models to then provide better solutions for small businesses. And I think we all know, if you're on this call today, you're definitely interested in AI, you're looking to learn more. And I think we all know, being part of the legal industry, is that it's going to have and is having a huge impact on our businesses and on our industry. And in particular, down here where I live, which is in small law, where you've got lots and lots of clients doing lots and lots of little tasks. But if you zoom out and you actually look at all those tasks that are happening, they're very commoditized. So there's hundreds of thousands of employment agreements being created. There's hundreds of thousands of policies. There's trademarks. There's entity setups. There's registrations. And so we'd really looked at that and said, when you look at it from a really high level, we can go in and use a lot of data to automate a lot of those processes. And I'm not saying that AI can do everything. And I think we are all still in our job, because we all know that, there is no solution. There is no kind of work around having humans in the mix. Really what we built at Lawpath is this hybrid idea where we can get software, we unbundle the service, and we can get software and non-lawyers to do part of the process. And then we inject the humans, and they sit behind me, and we have a law firm sitting behind me. We inject the humans at the critical points where software is just not enough. So let me share my screen, because I'm a very visual person. And so I think it makes a lot more sense when you can actually see what's going on. So what I would love to take everyone through today is a quick demo of Lawpath AI, and how we've been starting to surface AI within the Lawpath platform. We started building Lawpath AI about 18 months ago. I think when we all saw that first moment ChatGPT came out, we said, now is the time that it's really going to take off. And we partnered really early on with two companies. We partnered with AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. Our stack is built in AWS, and so it made a lot of sense for us to partner with them. Specifically through their Bedrock program, we can get early access to a lot of these models, and it allows you to build a lot faster. And then we also partnered with Anthropic. So Anthropic is OpenAI's largest competitor, and they run the Claude LLM, which is the LLM we use for most of our Lawpath AI. Now, interestingly, when we first started, we had APIs connected to both of these models. So we had the Lawpath platform, and then we connected to ChatGPT or OpenAI, and we connected to Claude. And what we actually would do is every time we would run an API call, we would run it to both LLMs, and we would assess the response that we got back. As we had a team of two lawyers, and their job, the three mates, was actually to review every response that came back from the models and compare what was good, what was bad, was it getting it wrong, that type of thing. And so as we refined our own system, we were able to build in guardrails, and get confident that we were able to remove hallucinations, and we were able to get really confident with the output that was coming back. So that's a little bit about kind of core infrastructure underneath Lawpath AI. I think the other thing to probably know is that we really want to be model agnostic. We understand that these LLMs and these models are moving so quickly. If you tie yourself to one of the models, you might get it right and you might be fine, but there is a really high likelihood that a new model comes out. There's a Chinese model that suddenly drops, and there's a better model out there. And so the way that we've really built it is we want to be model agnostic, which is that the Lawpath Cortex is built and then it can plug into any API or any model API. It just happens at the moment that Claude for us it makes the most sense, but we'll continue to monitor how things work. And I think, in hindsight, that decision has been a really good one for us, because it means that we can adapt to how the models work. So I suppose that leads on to my next point, which you probably all assumed already, which is we don't build our own models. We rely on the underlying models from the large providers. We're using a RAG system whereby we have our own Lawpath database, or what we call the Lawpath Cortex. We have uploaded to that Cortex every bit of legislation we can find, every case law we can find, all of the user behavior from our 500,000 customers, all of their insights, their logins, their decisions, what they do, all the way down to the documents they create on the platform, the clauses that they choose, any kind of sales recordings that we have with our clients, any kind of documents that our lawyers have drafted. So we've just kind of thrown as much as we can into that Cortex. And what that means is that we can get really, really specific around when we're making a call to the LLM. It goes through the Cortex when it makes that call, and it pulls out the really relevant bits of information. And that has meant that we're able to provide drafting tools and reviewing tools that are a lot better than just the standard LLM. I think another thing to note is that it took us a long time to get the privacy and confidentiality and all those very important things right. Um, because obviously dealing with client data and making sure that we're hosting these systems on our own servers and it's not going over to any kind of third parties was very important. And I know as legal vendors, that is a big discussion always, and how important it was. So that's probably enough talking from me. What I would love to get into is the actual demos. So you can see here we're on the Lawpath dashboard. So from a Lawpath dashboard, a small business in Australia can access certain tools. Um, I really want to actually probably point out, I probably should have pointed out at the very beginning, which is I break legal technology down into two parts. First is creating efficiencies for lawyers. And then the second is creating efficiencies directly to the end user. Most of the market out there these days is the former, which is creating efficiency for lawyers. It's tools for lawyers to do better. We've actually chosen a different path to probably the a number of unhappy lawyers out there, which is we believe that there are certain tasks and certain workflows in the legal space that can be done without lawyers. And so we jump them and we provide these tools directly to the end user, which is, in our case, a small business in Australia, a cafe, a plumber, an architect, that type of person. So they'll get a dashboard like this. They can come in and they can set up a business. You can see here, this is Ottoman Holdings is a dummy company, but we've got all of their shareholder information, their share certificates, their company cap table, that type of thing. You can go ahead and you can access kind of tax and accounting and legal consultations, so live calls with lawyers to get advice. But what I really want to show everyone today is where we've started plugging in our Lawpath AI. So at the top here, I might just start a workflow, which is hire an employee, and we will get that started. So over on the side here, we have our three main features of Lawpath AI, which, we're not reinventing the wheel here. I'm sure people have seen this pattern many, many times before, which is ask, draft, and review. So they are exactly what they sound like. You can ask the system questions and it will come back with information. You can draft, so you can jump into a document and actually start drafting, or you can upload a document and then it will start reviewing against certain playbooks or certain information that you have. But one of the most useful key workflows I see is that a customer will come in here with just a very simple request, like protect my IP or hire an employee or review my document. And this kind of points them in the right direction, because one of the big learnings we've seen over the kind of 10 years that we're operating is you really don't know what you don't know. So, sometimes you just need to be pointed in the right direction. And so creating a tool like this where we can point people in the right direction is very key. So you can see here, it's come back and it's said, okay, well, here's the legal documents we think you would need. Here are some of the compliance requirements. And then here's a bit of a step-by-step onboarding process of what's going to need to happen to bring on your customer. And then, as you can also see here, it's done a little bit of an upsell towards the end, pushing some of the customer into a more premium tier, which is also a good thing. But let's just say, for example, go that we want to create an employment agreement. So on the Lawpath platform, we have about 500 different legal precedents and templates provided by LexisNexis. And a client or a user of the platform can actually come in and build out any kind of contract. Very similar to, I'm sure, some of the legal contract drafting tools that you have in your own firms. So here you can see we've got a letter of offer, relatively standard. I can go ahead and use the questionnaire to start filling that out. But where it gets a little bit interesting is that we've overlaid AI on top of this drafter now, and it can start actually helping us do a few things. So the first AI feature that comes into play is that based on the kind of hundreds of thousands of other documents that have been created through our platform, we've got all this data around what a standard employment offer or letter would have in it, and also how people have chosen to customize those agreements over time. And so what the AI has done here is it's looked at my profile, it's then matched up the type of profile I have with certain clauses that might be useful for me, and it's actually started to suggest different custom clauses that I could add into the agreement. And so here you can see that it's and they highlight it here in green, where we've actually said, okay, as part of the termination, there's some additional termination clauses that we should have. But where it gets really interesting for me, at least, is that I can provide more context to the model and it will start customizing it further. So I might say something like, this is for an accountant that needs a CFA. Let's hope it knows what that is. And so we'll start refining the suggestions. And refine suggestions. So what's happening now is the system is going back into our core text and it's reviewing all the employment agreements that could have been used for accountants. And it's reviewing the different clauses in the agreement and starting to further customize that based on the data. And so we'll just let it do its thing. All right, so what it's now done is it's gone in and it's come back and it's saying we could add a specific clause that's around the CFA certification clause. And it's also come back and said, enhance intellectual property clause around financial work. Okay, so we can click here. Okay, so what it's done is it's inserted a professional development and certification clause into the agreement. We can go ahead if we want to and just add that to the agreement. And there it is right there. So as if I'm hiring an accountant, as a small business owner, I want to make sure they have the right qualifications. It's helped me there. That's one of the features. The second one, or one of them, another one is just your straight draft. So if you need help, let's say we want to make sure, so this is a location clause. Let's say that actually we don't want them to be working in different locations. We just want them just based in Sydney. And we can go ahead and click that, and that will redo the clause for me so that the clause hopefully says that they are just based in Sydney. And I can go ahead and insert that in, and there we go. And then the last feature that we have is our risks and insights feature. So again, what the system has done here is it's looked at employment agreements for accountants that have been done in the past, and it's pulled out certain risks that you should be really aware of, that we want to make sure that you're thinking about before you go ahead and sign up this. So what's said here, I say here's a high risk. So it said the probation period clause lacks specific duration and performance criteria. And if I click here, it's highlighted for me. And so it might say a tree, let's go in and redraft that, or we might just mark it as red and it's gone. And so it's then given me some medium risks and some other risks. So this is a really good way for our clients to identify areas in the document that that might be worth looking at again. So let's say I've gone through and I've built my document out. It's ready to send to my accountant that I want to hire next week. There's a couple of features that I can then do. So across the top here, we have, we can track change everything. So if we need to, we can send it off and get it reviewed. Very importantly, we've kind of got history, version history. We've got the ability for you to book in and speak with one of our lawyers. And so what we find is that, you should probably, if it was a perfect world, everyone should have document reviewed by a lawyer. But I'm not going to sit here and say that that happens every time. As we know, there are clients out there that just one can't afford it or don't have time or just don't. And so they are using these tools. But what we say at Lawpath is, look, let's give you the best of both worlds. Let's allow you to self-serve the agreement, get it to a point where you're really happy with it, and then let's book in a consultation with one of the lawyers to get it almost signed off. So what would happen here, I'd click book consultation. That sets up a consultation in my calendar at the right time. The lawyer and the client pop up in the platform. So you're both there. And then the lawyer would go, okay, Courtney, your agreement looks really good, but you know what? We need to change this because this is the wrong award rate or something along those lines. And then I can go ahead and I can send it straight off the e-signature, or I can go ahead and download it. And so what you end up with here is it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of maybe a system that a lawyer would be using, but it is a really great, concise system powered by AI that Australian small businesses can use to create general agreements. And I use this system a lot. And so you can see here, I have thousands of different documents in here. And we have over 500 different templates. And so the problem we're solving here, and the problem that we really found that a lot of our clients were calling out for, was you have precedence, and then you have custom drafted documents for lawyers. there was no middle ground, and often that's where a client would sit. It's to be frank, they can't afford a three, four, $5,000 employment agreement drafted by a lawyer. But also, they shouldn't be using just a precedent they found online or on Google or something like that, which we know we've all seen our clients do. And so, we've got here a system where you can really find a middle ground there, which you can build it yourself and then get it checked. So I've been talking for 21 minutes very fast. And so what I thought I might do is just pause there for a moment just to see if there are any questions, if there are any clarifications that I could make, or if there's anything I can help with.
And again, if anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand, or you're very welcome to pop a question in the chat. And while we're waiting, I might just ask, if I may, Dom, is Lawpath used primarily in Australia, or do you have a global user base? Where are you?
We're just Australia. We did launch, oh, sorry, no, so we're 99.9% Australia. We do have about 800 clients in the US, um, but we haven't officially kind of pressed go and launched over there as yet. But we do definitely intend to in the future. I think as we've all probably experienced, if you're building legal technology or if you're working in the legal industry, that get good at one jurisdiction first or one market first and then try and expand. But I think the great thing about legal tech is that once you've built the framework, you can be relatively jurisdiction and market agnostic. For us, it's one of the reasons we love having LexisNexis as a partner because they provide the content for us and we just provide the what I kind of call the infrastructure to deliver the.
Excellent. And just going back, because I know it's something that we care a lot about, Lander and Rogers, and something that we're always chatting like about our startup, is just that data sovereignty piece. I know you said that you do kind of store the data in your own servers. Can you talk about the servers that you're using? Are those what products you're using for that?
Yeah. So again, we are very much an Amazon or an AWS stack business, and so um, we have built out our own kind of custom solution whereby we are keeping them on the Eastern Seaboard Australian Amazon servers, so that the data never leaves Australia. In terms of more granularly, how we think about our clients is within our Cortex and our database, we really created slithers for each client so that no data can go between clients. But then there is shared knowledge, which is kind of de-identified. So you're not able to know where, you know, it's not any kind of personal information or anything like that. There's a shared knowledge that can be shared across everyone. And then we just had a general knowledge. So for example, I mentioned before, uploading case law and legislation. I think that's shared across all users. So we I think like everyone that was building in 2023, that was the first question that we all had to figure out how we're going to do this. And look, the models have actually come a long way now. Everyone might remember at the beginning we were like, where all this data is being trained. The models are using this data to train themselves. Now it's very clear that you can turn that on and off. But it probably took us a year to get really comfortable and confident with that. And since then, we've been able to roll it out. And we're working with some larger partners who are very let's say, on top of this type of thing around the data's going and where it's being stored and how it's being used. So making sure we got that right early was important.
Excellent. And Dom, I can hear lots of activity happening behind you. So how many people are on your team?
Yeah, I do apologize. It's lunchtime now, so the sales team are all getting a little bit rowdy. So we have about 100 team members.
Oh, wow.
We're based, roughly about 50 of them are based here in Sydney, in Australia. And then we have we have a development team based out of Nepal, Kathmandu in Nepal. We have a customer support team in the Philippines, and we have a few more in Sri Lanka and scattered around. I think the way that we've kind of broken down our development is we have our managers and R&D activities onshore. One, because it makes sense. I am a bit of an advocate for being in the same office and kind of sharing ideas. But two, there's also a lot of R&D incentives to do that here in Australia. And then we have our delivery teams and our back office teams offshore.
Excellent. And how many kind of AI specialists do you have on the team?
So we were very lucky in that our CTO for a very long time, before it was cool, was very much an AI person. So he leads up our AI team, and then we have um, two developers that specialize in AI, and then we have one kind of what I would call we originally called them a prompt engineer. I mean, that's kind of shifted a little bit, but this is someone with a legal background. He used to be a lawyer, then restudied in tech, and now kind of sits between our legal team and our software team, and does all those translations to make sure that everything is it works well. And I think we've been quite lucky. Although we're a software company, we have a law firm attached to us. And what that's meant is we can train and test a lot of our AI tools on our lawyers internally before we release it, which means we can refine things down and find out what works and what doesn't work before it goes out into the wild.
Yeah, awesome. Well, again, I think the product's amazing. I did go down an entrepreneurial path a while ago, and I think this would have been so useful. And as mentioned, I run the Law Tech Hub here at Lander and Rogers, so we do get a lot of startups that come through that are bootstrapping. They might not have a lot of resources to dedicate to having, especially ones that don't come from a legal background. They don't have a lot of resources to dedicate to getting all this documentation done. So I see it as a massive benefit for that when you're getting started and need that kind of foundational framework of legal work done, but you just don't have the resourcing to do it. So I think it's awesome. Again, I just want to check with anybody that's tuned in. If anybody has a question, you're very welcome again to raise your hand or pop something in the chat. We've got Dom Woolwich here. It's pretty amazing. So now's your chance to ask him a burning question about Lawpath. Um, and while we're waiting, in case anybody has anything, is there anything on your roadmap, Dom, that you guys are going to be building or planning?
Yeah, we are tripling down on AI. We really think that strategically is key for us. I think there's all legal tech vendors at the moment that are building AI themselves. I think we're having this conversation, which is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? Which way is it going to go? Um, what we're finding is at the beginning we thought that potentially it was other legal tech vendors that were going to be the competitors to us. And actually, what we're finding now, it's the underlying LLMs, because every time they release a new model, it gets better and better, and they start eating in. And when GPT 4.5 came out, it kind of wiped away a whole segment of wrappers that had built niche products. And so, what we're thinking a lot about at the moment is um, how do we build AI, and how do we build features in our platform that are not going to be superseded by one of the large models? So what's our USP? And so, like, to be frank, at the rate this is going, LLMs will be able to draft perfect legal documents in 2 years' time. I know that's controversial for every lawyer out there, but like, there is no doubt in my mind that for standard legal documents, um, it'll be perfect. There won't be hallucinations. Yes, from a regulatory perspective, we probably need to get it still checked by a human, but it will be able to do that. And so, if you're just building a straight vanilla legal contract drafting tool using AI, I do think that you need something else to be defensible. And so, we're starting to think, okay, well, then what can't it do? So, from a UX perspective, it can't plug into all your other systems and create a really nice portal for you to log in and use. It also, for us, can't pull data from some of the systems we use, like the ATO and ASIC and Fair Work and things like that. And so, from a building AI perspective, we're starting to think about what's our unique position and how are we not going to be steamrolled over the next 2 years.
Great. Well, Dom, we've just got a minute here, but we've got a couple of questions. So one, can Lawpath be used by not-for-profit?
Oh, what an amazing question. So I am just about to launch a non-for-profit program at Lawpath where I want to give away free Lawpath accounts to non-for-profits, because what I find is that there's all these non-for-profits out there. They have all these basic legal compliance issues, and the law firms do an amazing job at servicing them, but it's not for the kind of really basic stuff like, hey, I need a director's resolution, or hey, I need some help with this very simple casual employment agreement. And so I think Lawpath is a great solution for that. And so if anyone out there is a non-for-profit, it does want to be my first kind of tester, whether it works well for you, please contact me. And yeah, I think it would be a perfect solution for them.
Oh, great. And how can people contact you, Dom?
So dom at lawpath.com is my email. You can hit me up there, or you can just Google LinkedIn, Dom Woolridge or Dominic Woolridge. I hopefully will come up in the first few results. Yeah, always keen to hear feedback, keen to hear how Lawpath might be able to be used in a new and innovative way. And if you're a non-for-profit, definitely keen, because that's on my roadmap for next month to actually launch that program.
Excellent. And one last one that we can squeeze in. Who are your target clients for Lawpath? Who do you see as like your sweet spot
Yeah, so
product?
Australian new businesses under 2 million in revenue, typically under 50 employees, and in the first 5 years of operating. And they are the end users. I think, it's not, unfortunately, maybe for some people on the call, like this product is not actually designed for lawyers. It's actually designed for the lawyer's end user. That being said, we do have a ton of law firms and lawyers that use this because they just find it easy to use.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was wonderful and very fast. And I'm sure people would love to hear more from Dom. But again, he said you can get in touch with him. So don't be shy. Hit him up on LinkedIn or via email. And huge thanks to everybody for tuning in to this episode of Lex Explore AI. And thank you so much, Dom, for being the guest today. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Great. Thanks for having me, Courtney. Bye,
All
everyone.
right. Take care. Bye bye, everybody.